Like, I came into the video kind of expecting to do this, but like, I really like the way that this works. I don't know why. I've always been really interested in the concept of a game within a game, right? Like, for example, something like Doom Eternal letting you play classic Doom within the game. It's like, how did they even port the original game to work inside of Doom Eternal? How did that happen? And there are some other examples which are escaping me right now, but I'm sure you can remember at least one game that isn't Doom Eternal that has some sort of like playable other mini game inside of it, right? Like, these things are very cool, and I'm not too sure why. Honestly, I think it's just like the fact that it makes the game feel a bit more real, because it's almost like it's like a fourth wall break. You're like, oh, I'm playing a game inside of a game, so that makes this game a little bit more real. I don't know, like, this could just be me rambling on, but I've always found that really, really cool. And another thing that I find really, really cool is Roblox, right? Not entirely, like, I don't play the game as much as I used to, but bro, as a kid, I used to grind this game. Or not this game, like the countless games that it had. I was on Apocalypse Rising, Breaking Point was amazing. There was this game called, it was like some wizard Harry Potter thing where you could buy spells and like use them on people. It was a very simple game, but I used to love it. And now that I'm able to script, develop, code, and make games within Roblox, I thought, why not try and combine these two interests? Why not make Roblox within Roblox? Now, I don't want this video to take up too much of your time, nor do I want it to take too much of my time. So when I say making a game in Roblox, I don't mean I'm gonna import like the entirety of Adopt Me or whatever within this Roblox Studio base plate, right? What I'm saying is I want some sort of system, something that can pass as Roblox within Roblox. Nothing too low effort, but like, we're not going to be making like a whole fleshed out game just for this example. So if you're here expecting me to create like the next incarnation of Adopt Me or whatever, you'll leave disappointed. However, if you came to this video to see interesting code and to understand whether something like this is even possible, even on a very fundamental level, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. So the basic idea that I personally have, right, and look at that, it's Halloween. I have a pumpkin thing. It looks pretty cool. The basic idea of Roblox within Roblox is that, firstly, we probably need some sort of computer, right? Because right now we have nothing. It's an empty base plate. There's no other characters. It's just me. However, imagine a computer that you can go up to. You can interact with the computer, right? Like, maybe you can like press the E key when you're like, you know, close to the computer. And then when you press the E key, maybe your camera like zooms into the computer screen, and then that computer screen will now show you another Roblox character that you're able to control. And then once you press like E again, or like you press some other button, the camera goes back to the character and you're now able to move the character again. I feel like these are the very basic fundamentals to such an idea, right? And I'm not looking for anything more, to be honest, because if this is possible, if this is a system that we are able to script in, well then now we know that it's possible, right? Like, sure, it's not going to be the highest effort, but the fact that it is possible means that everything else is now possible. It would just require a bit more time, and I don't want this video to be like an hour long, you know? Now, to begin scripting, I know I just listed all of the steps seemingly in order. Like, I know I said, oh yeah, add the computer, add the screen, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what coding is, right? Developers, you already know this, but if you aren't someone who develops or aren't someone who develops, you know, that well, it's a lot easier to develop things by testing out concepts beforehand, right? Like, for example, how can we even switch the camera from one player to the other, right? How can we make it so that, like, I'm moving my character and then I press a key and then now I'm able to move another character, right? And then how do I make it so that I can go back to my original character? Because these are all very important questions, right? After all, if I can't do even one of those, then this whole system just isn't gonna work out. So the very first thing we would need then is a very basic rig, right? So we can just add this little guy right here, right? Very, very basic character. Now, if I put my character into the world, right, and we have this rig, if I check the files of Roblox, they're actually very similar, right? Both of them have, yeah, they have the parts, right? My character has more accessories, because the evil pumpkin, obviously. What if I delete it? Oh god. Can I undo? I can't undo. Damn it. But, you know, they're both very similar. They both have humanoids, they both have script, they both have very similar parts, you know, minus some accessories. So this rig, for the most part, is very, very similar to my character. So it shouldn't be that difficult to allow us to take control over this rig. So here's what I'm going to do. Inside of starter player script, I'm going to make a local script, okay? Starter player script simply means that whenever a player joins the game, whatever scripts are inside of the folder will be added inside of that player. And the reason this is called a local script and not like, you know, a regular normal script is because local means that it is only gonna do the changes for you. And this is very important when we want to detect things like, you know, keystrokes. Like obviously, you know, if I want to detect that this player pressed the E key on their keyboard, it has to be in a local script, right? Because local scripts have access to the client, which is able to input stuff. And then if I want to change the camera of the player, that also has to be done on the local script because local scripts change things for specific players, while regular scripts change just parts of the game that everybody can see. Now, that is a very short explanation, and if it doesn't make sense, like, it's not a big deal, but just know that that's the main distinction, right? Local scripts are for changing things that the player sees, and server scripts, or like, you know, normal scripts, are for just changing the game itself, as in what everybody sees. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make two variables, okay? Hopefully you know what variables are. Hopefully you don't need a 10-minute explanation on those. I'm gonna make a variable for rig, which I'll call workspace, wait for child, rig. So this will just hold this rig, right? Very simple. And then I'm gonna say local my rig. And this will be the character of my player, the original character. And the way we can get this one is by saying game players local player, which is our player. This is where the script is located, right? Dot character, which will give us the character of the local player. Or if it cannot find the character, we can say game players local player character added wait, which will wait for the character to fully load in. Because sometimes, you know, the character takes like a while to load. And if we just leave this line as is without adding this, you know, extra code, it's going to be like, oh, there's no character, even though it's still loading. And then the code is just going to crash, and then it's just not going to run. And then I'll make one more variable on top, local, and let's call it switched rigs. And this will be a Boolean value, and Boolean is a true or a false. So by default, this will be false. What this variable will do is it's going to track whenever we switch rigs, right? So when I'm still in my original default character, this will be false. But then when I start to control this other character, this is going to be true. And the reason I have this set up is, well, number one, obviously for us to know when we're supposed to be in control of this, you know, other fake character. But it's also going to be important for, you know, changing the camera and stuff like that. So now we need to quickly write some code to detect the key press, which is actually very simple. It's just game user input service, input began connect function. It gives us the input that the player pressed. And we can say if input key code is equal to enum keycode.e, you know, if the key is E, then we're going to take this switch rigs variable and we're going to reverse it, right? So I'm going to say switched rigs is now going to be equal to the opposite of what it currently is. So if it's right now false, then we're going to set it equal to not false, which is true. But then if it's true, then not true is false. So basically we're taking its current value and, you know, like I said, reversing it. And so now that we've done that, we just have to do an if statement that checks the value of the switched rigs variable. So we'll say if switched rigs, then, or this is just short for writing if it's equal to true, right? So we could say this, or we could just do this. So if switched rigs is true, then we'll do something else, meaning if it's false, then we'll do something else. So I'll just write some comments real quick. Control the new character, and this one is control our original character. And so a very simple like first change that we can kind of play around with, because obviously, you know, we can try and like switch the characters right off the bat, you know, like make the computer do everything right now. But we got to start off kind of slow, right? Both for me And for you, because you gotta see how this stuff works, I have to think about what to do next, because I don't actually play test these things early on. What I know we could do is we can change the perspective of the camera, right? So what I could do is I could say, you know, when we need to control the new character, we're not going to control it just yet, but what I'll do is I'll say workspace, current camera, and I believe it's camera subject, yes. So the camera subject is gonna be the part that the camera like revolves around. So you know how whenever you start playing the game, like your camera is around your character? That's the camera subject. But then if I set the camera subject to be one of the parts inside of the rig, well then now the camera will be surrounding the rig. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say camera subject is equal to rig dot humanoid root part, which is like the part that's in the very middle of the rig. And then what I'll do is I'm going to copy this line, I'm going to put it over here, and instead of rig, it's going to be my rig. So we're going to go back to, you know, our default rig. And so let's just see if this works real quick, right? So we have our player, we have the rig, and if I press E, oh yeah, look at that, great. And so yeah, I can still move my character around, like I'm pressing the keys right now, but yeah, the camera is not following the character, but I'm still able to move it. So that's something to keep in mind. And then if I were to press E again, yep, now I'm back, okay. So yeah, all that this does is just changes the camera. So yeah, you know, obviously not that impressive, but this is a very good step, right? All we gotta do now is just find a way to make the character move, which might be a bit harder than changing the camera, but, you know, we can make it work, you know? We're gonna manage. Now, a bit earlier, I actually showed you that you are able to get the character of the local player, right? I mean, not early, like it's literally right here, right? Well, another thing you are able to do is you're also able to set this character value to another character, right? So what I could do, and again, right now we are just testing things, but what I could do is I could say game, players, probably should have made a variable for the player, but whatever. Players.localplayer.character is equal to the rig. So we'll set the character of the local player equal to this new rig. And then what we'll do is we'll say localplayer.character my rig, like so. Now let's see, is this going to work? Okay, if I press E right now, I am unable to move. It changes the camera, but I can't move. I'm clicking every key possible, it's just nothing's happening. Now, if I were to press E again, I am able to move. Now, what's different about this, though, is that when I'm inside of this character, I'm pressing keys, right? But this guy isn't moving as well, right? And when I'm back, he's moving. So clearly something is happening. Clearly there's some sort of change going on. It's not just the same thing, because I can't move either of these characters. And this is actually a problem I've had back when I first started scripting. I remember I've had certain issues where I had parts which I wanted the player to control, which the player just seemingly had no control over. Like even simple stuff. Like I remember there was a thing where I wanted to have a ball, right? So I had a little ball sphere-shaped part, right? And inside of the part, I had this thing called a drag detector, where like you can play the game and you can like drag the ball around by like hovering your mouse over it, this type of stuff, right? And you know, this works fine, but in the context of the game, I don't even remember exactly what I was doing, but I started running into a problem where occasionally this just wouldn't work. Like when you would get close to the ball, it would, you know, work fine. But then even if you were to go a bit like away from the ball and you were to try and drag it, it just wouldn't work. And you might be thinking like, oh, but it's because the drag detector has like a distance limit, right? Well, it does, because when you go too far, as you can see, the cursor is no longer becoming a hand. Like if I move close, now it's a hand. If I move away, now it's no longer a hand. But the cursor was a hand. I removed the limits in the drag detector. And I was able to move other parts as well, right? So it wasn't just me being stupid. And turns out what this is that as a player, when you enter the vicinity of a part, this is hard to explain, but it now becomes owned by you. And the best way I can show this to you is if I right now were to walk close to the part, you are gonna see it jitter a little bit, okay? So just take a look at this. Or actually, I guess it jittered a bit beforehand. Yeah, for some reason, it's not wanting to jitter right now. But before, when I was talking, you could go back a little bit. I was going, you know, like close and away from the part, and it was jittering, right? Like the moment I got close to it, it like kind of paused a bit, and then continued going. And then the moment I got away from it, it also had a thing where like it paused for a little bit, and then it continued rolling. And the reason it does that is, like I said before, because the owner of the part is different. Specifically, the physics owner is different. Now, what this means is that every single part in Roblox has a function called set network owner. And the network owner can either be a certain player or it can be the game itself. And this is the problem with this new rig that we've created. We don't own it, technically. What actually owns the rig is the server, which is why whenever we press keys, because we don't own the rig, we aren't able to actually do anything. But if we were to actually own every single part within the rig, we'd be able to move the rig. And like, I know this might seem kind of confusing, right? But like, it's honestly not that bad. Like, I know set network owner is like a kind of a lengthy name, but all it needs is just needs a player, right? So all we gotta do is just whenever we want to connect to the rig, we just have to loop through every single part inside of the rig. Because like I said before, like only parts have this. So we can't just like set the model's network ownership, right? I mean, like, look at this, rig, set network ownership. That's just not a thing. So yeah, we would just have to loop through every single part and then set the network ownership to our player, right? And then whenever we stop using a rig, we're gonna set the network ownership to be that of the game. However, the small problem with this is that we can't change network ownership in a local script. We can only do it inside of a regular server script. And now you might be asking, okay, well, how do we do that? Like, you know, whenever the player presses a key, how do we let this script know that it has to do something? And that's where this amazing thing comes in called the remote event. You guys hopefully already know all about these by now. It's my very first video, actually, so it kickstarted my amazing channel. Now, what this thing does is, let me just make a variable for it. Local event is equal to game, replicated storage, dot remote event, and then I'll just add this over here as well. Wait for child remote event. What this allows us to do is it allows us to communicate between local script and server script. So for example, right, what I could do here is I could say event fire server. So it's gonna fire to the server, and we're also able to give it certain bits of data. And so the bits of data that I'm gonna give it is I'm gonna give it the switched rigs variable. So I'll say switched rigs. Then I'm going to give it our default rig and also the brand new rig. So I'm gonna give it 3 bits of information, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing over here as well. And then in the server, we can actually listen for that fire server event by saying event on server events connect function. So then whenever this piece of code gets ran, you know, whenever we do fire server, this event is going to fire. And it also gives us one more bit of information, which is the player who fired the event. So we can just call this player, and then we're gonna get all of the other information that I gave it. So it's gonna be player, and then it's gonna be switched rigs, my rig, and the rig. So I'll just kind of copy them over here. And so we can just very easily say, if switched rigs, then, or else. And so if switched rigs is true, then we have to set the network ownership of the new rig. So I'm just gonna say for I in rig get descendants. It's not autofilling because it doesn't know what rig is supposed to be. But get descendants basically gets every single item within the rig, right? And we can just say if v is a base part, then v set network owner. Am I even typing this right, bro? I hate it when it just does that. Like, I hate it when it just doesn't autofill anything. Let's see, workspace, base plate, set network owner, and then it needs the player. Yeah, okay, set network owner. It's stupid how this works, bro. But okay, set network owner, the player, right, over here. And then we'll close that off with an end. And then we're just gonna do one more thing, except for my original rig, so my rig. And instead of setting the network owner to be the player, we're gonna set it to be nil, which means nothing, which means it's going to be set to the server, like the game. But then if switched rigs is false, which means that we want to go back to our original character, we just have to replace these. My rig, rig. So now my rig will get ownership again, and the original rig, and the brand new rig will lose ownership. So I know this probably seems a little too confusing, but if I play the game right now, and if I were to press E, there we go. Now, there is a very noticeable lack in animation for some reason, which there's probably a way to fix it, but honestly, I don't want to bother with it right now. This works great. If I do switch back though, amazing. Look at that. Okay, a small problem is that if I continue moving when I switch, it continues moving the rig, which is kind of a problem. But it's funny, it doesn't do it for this rig though. Like if I keep moving with my original rig, see, it keeps moving, right? It's just going off in the distance. But then if I were to do the same with my rig, I'm moving, right? Look at that. It just stops completely. Yeah, so that is weird how it does that, but honestly, this is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, this is very cool. But yeah, I know I just said this, but this is actually very cool. Like, I don't know, just being able to control 2 rigs, like, oh, 1 rig here, 1 rig here. This could be used for like some puzzle game, honestly. You know, like you have 2 players and you have to control this guy. Maybe he has like his own like abilities. Like maybe this guy's like very small, but then this guy's like very big, and like, you know, you can like do things with that, I guess. I guess while I'm kind of playtesting this, looking for any errors, which I guess that is a glaring error. But like honestly, you know, that aside, I guess everything else works okay. So I'm just gonna avoid moving as we do the switch. Yeah, as I'm playtesting, I will take this opportunity to tell you that I think pigeons are really cool. And I actually have pet pigeons, kind of. My dad found 2 baby pigeons like a month or 2 ago. And they were like, you know, just hiding in like some bush, like little tiny baby pigeons, right? And so he took them home in a box. Like, I go upstairs and like my family is just surrounding these like little baby pigeons. And then, yeah, we start feeding them, you know, we start like taking them out on walks. We start like, you know, teaching them how to fly by like, you know, like kind of throwing them up a little bit. And I think about a month in, they learn how to fly, and it's just all very cool. And the reason I'm saying this, I don't even have anything to sell. And the reason I'm saying this, like, don't worry, this isn't some like pigeon sponsorship. I have them on my Instagram. Like on my Instagram, I have like a picture of them as babies. And then I have another picture where like now they're like grown up, and like one of them like is like sitting on my knee and everything. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see the pigeons, and you'll also see ByteBlock's knee reveal for the first time. So I know that's a very big important thing for you. So I've linked that in the description and the pinned comment. So check the pictures, follow the Instagram. Let's get me to like, I don't know, 100,000 followers, you know, that good number. And while you're there, a smaller thing, but I do have a course which fully explains Roblox Studio. And when I say fully, I mean fully, bro. I'm not one of those guys who are like, oh, I'm teaching Studio, but it's like not good or whatever. No, mine is the best. Whatever, if you look up Roblox Studio course, the Google AI will tell you ByteBlock's course is the best, and all of the other ones, they're trash, they're utter garbage, right? Every review of the course is amazing. There's one bad review, but it's in Spanish, so I'm not going to count it. Go preview the course. Link is, again, in the description and the pinned comment. And with that being said, I'm basically done playtesting, so we can move on to the next step of the video game. The next step would be to add a computer, okay? Now, if I actually look up computer, let's see, can we find anything good on the toolbox? Okay, I mean, there's this model. Let's see, computer. Honestly, this thing actually looks really nice. And then, yeah. Oh, yeah, look. Yeah, damn, look at that. Computer desk, and then we can move it up here. Oh, yeah, no, this is literally perfect. And anyway, let's see, how tall is it? Yeah, great. So, the way that I envision things is that we are going to be able to walk up to this computer screen, right? And then this computer screen probably will also have some sort of prompt that we can input. And so, there's a thing in Roblox called a proximity prompt, and then I'll just quickly disable requires line of sight, because it's going to be technically inside of the computer or whatever. But yeah, if I play the game, so we can walk up, we can interact like so. Oh yeah, right, I'm pressing E. That's the same key. But the idea here is that we're going to walk up to the computer, we're going to press E to interact. Maybe we'll hide this box a little bit. And then I want the camera to look at the computer. So I want the camera to go from my player to look at the computer. And I want the computer in the screen to show this rig. And I want this rig to be like moving around and everything. Now, I just said that I wanted to show this player on this computer screen, but how is that possible, right? I mean, that's kind of the main question of the video. How can I put a game within the game? How can I put something into this computer screen? Well, there is something that exists. I know, shocker. That is called a Surface GUI, okay? So we can agree that this is probably the front side of the screen. This is the screen. Okay, good. So what this thing is, Surface GUI. I forgot whether I said Screen GUI or Surface GUI, so my bad. But Screen GUI is meant for the screen. Surface GUI is meant for 2D elements on a 3D part. So for example, if I were to put, let's say, a button inside of the Surface GUI, and let's say I scale the button to be filling the entire part, we can go to the Surface GUI and we can experiment. Yeah, there we go, look at that. Yeah. So what this is going to do is it's going to make a user interface item that's going to be on the part. So if I go and play the game, right, look at that. we can actually interact with a 2D element that's on a 3D screen. And where this becomes useful is with something called a viewport frame. Now, the problem with viewport frames when it comes to placing them on 3D items is that it doesn't quite work. You have to set the adornee of the Surface GUI to be the 3D parts, and then you also have to make sure that the Surface GUI is actually inside of the starter GUI. So yeah, if it's like this, then it works. So, you know, it's kind of stupid, but whatever, we'll manage. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll make the size fully scaled, and I'll probably set the background color to be, I do want it to mimic the sky color. So let me see. Let me just do, yeah, this works. Now, to those who are wondering what a viewport frame is, in very simple terms, a viewport frame is something that allows us to see 3D models from the perspective of a camera that's inside of the viewport frame. So for example, if I were to set the positions of both to be 0, 0, 0, right? Like, yeah, like so. And then now if I were to try and move the parts a little bit, so let's see. Okay, X isn't changing anything. Y isn't changing anything. Let's see, is Z gonna change anything? Yep, there we go, look at that. So yeah, if I move it -10 studs on the Z axis, we can actually see the part as this camera would see it. And I can change the rotation as well, right? I can do something like this. Or I could do something like this, right? Or I could do something like this, right? And look at that. Now we can actually see the part. And the idea that I have with this viewport frame is that we can have another base plate, right? So I can just clone this base plate and then like move it like, I don't know, like below this one. We can take this character, right? And we can just take all of those parts and then display them on the screen via a viewport frame, which means that whenever we go and control the character, we're going to be able to see the way that the character moves on this screen. I know this probably doesn't make too much sense, but here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to remove these items, right? I am going to take this base plate. I'm going to duplicate this base plate. I'm going to select the rig as well. And then, right after that, I am going to move this base plate all the way down would be good. However, I'm afraid that like the kill box is all the way down. So I think what we should do is we should take all of these things and move them up, right? Just to avoid colliding with the kill box. Like, yeah, there we go. I think this is good. So yeah, we now have 2 base plates. This one obviously is casting a massive shadow, so I'll probably set that to not do that. And so yeah, we have the rig over here, and we have the massive base plate with our player right above it. And the last thing I'll do is I'm going to make a folder, like so, and I'm going to put both the base plate and the rig inside of that folder. Just because these are the only things that we want to show up on the computer. And so one of the very last things that we have to do in the 3D world before moving on to scripting is we have to actually add a camera part for the character. We have to add some sort of part that actually is able to look at where this rig is. So what I'll do is I'll add this part. We have to check where it actually is looking, and it's looking backwards. So let me just reverse it like so. And let me also shift it like this so that it actually is looking at the character. I think, I think this is fine. Let me actually maybe move it a little bit closer, like so. I think this is good, yeah. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll call this cam part. I'm gonna set it to be anchored so that it doesn't fall, so like it's not affected by gravity and everything. I'll set can collide to be false, and I'll also set it to be fully invisible, like so. And so now for the final thing to do, we have to make another local script, this time inside of the Surface GUI. I'll make 2 variables, one for the folder, so local folder is equal to workspace, wait for child folder. I'll make one for the viewport frame, so local view is equal to script.parent wait for child viewport frame, so script.parent viewport frame. And then I'm gonna say this, game.runService render step connect function, and this will run every single frame. Okay, so this is the fastest way to update anything. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to make a brand new camera for the viewport frame. So I'll say local new cam is going to be equal to instance.new camera, like so. I'm going to say new cam.cframe, and cframe is just a mix of its position and its orientation, right? So I'll say cframe is equal to cframe.new. So first is going to need the position, which will be the position of the cam part. So I'll say workspace, wait for child cam parts. And then it needs another vector, and the vector is just like an X, Y, and Z value, right? But this time it needs a vector to look at. And what I'm thinking is we could make this camera always point towards this rig. So what we could say is we could just say folder, wait for child rig, wait for child humanoid roots part, dot position. So every single frame, this camera is gonna be pointing towards the very middle of this character. Yeah, then we're gonna say new cam.parent is equal to view. We're gonna place it inside the viewport, and then I'll say view.current camera is equal to this new camera. And then we just have to loop through the folder and add all of the parts inside of the viewport frame. So I'll say for iv in folder get descendants, do if v is a base part, then v, we're gonna clone it, and then we're gonna set the parent to be the viewport frame, and we're gonna end. And the final thing we're gonna do is at the beginning of each frame, we're going to clear the viewport frame completely, right? Because we can't just keep creating new cameras and new parts every frame and not delete them, right? So I'll say view clear all children. And so, okay, let's just test this out real quick. Oh, that's not good. Vector 3 expected got instance. Oh, I see. Oh, damn. Okay, this is such a dumb mistake. This is supposed to be the position, right? But I just gave it the part. So I'm supposed to give it the position of the part, which I do here, but not here. That's kind of stupid. But okay, if I play the game right now, wait, what? Infinite yield possible on workspace, wait for child rig. Oh, right. Okay, it's, yeah, it's a workspace, wait for child folder, wait for child rig. There we go. That should be good. Is that everything? Why are we falling through? Oh, right, I'm stupid. Wait. Yeah. Okay, yeah, not play here. We're just gonna play the game regularly. There we go. So let's actually see. Yep, look at that. And then if I were to move a little bit, let's see. Oh, do you know what's going on? Whenever we change the character, it seems like it's changing the user interface as well. Because look at this, right? If I were to play the game, and then if I check my player, we have the, yeah, look, we have the Surface GUI, right? But then if I change my character, look, that all disappears. What the hell? What if we say reset on spawn is false? Because that might be causing the issue. Let's see, wait. Oh, yep, there we go. Yep, amazing, okay. Phew, I thought that was like some big issue that we had to fix. Okay, something that I'm actually curious about is what if we just don't change the camera at all? Like, we can change the rig and everything, but what if we just keep the camera the same? So let's see, I'm gonna look at the computer, right? Now I'm gonna change the camera. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Do you see that? Oh my god. That is so cool. Holy. Yep, look at that, it does that little change. And we can jump to. This is, wow. Okay, obviously there are some issues, like it's not running for some reason, which it definitely would look a lot better if it actually was able to run. But yeah, I mean, if any skilled developers watching this with time on their hands, I will publish this game as like a playable game, and you'll be able to actually copy the project file of this game. So, you know, take the project file, do some quick fixes to this, because I know that it's possible, right? I just don't want to waste too much time. We've already done enough things, but this is pretty cool. But for the final thing, I did say that I want the player to be able to actually interact with the computer, which I still do. So what I'm gonna do is with the computer, I'm gonna find, yeah, let's say over here, I don't know, whatever. Or actually, no, I think on the screen is still better. Yeah, we can say proximity prompts, we can make that clickable. And then let's see, UI offset. But I mean, okay, let's see, is this gonna look good? What the hell? Oh, I see. But okay, let's see, is this going to actually look good? Really? Is it not? Is 3 too little? What if I do like 10 or something? Is that better? Bro, what? What is this? Oh, okay, wait. Okay, so it should be a lot higher of a number. Okay, wait, that makes a little more sense. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so 75 is the right number then. Okay, not 10. 10 does nothing. So if I do 75, then it's gonna be good. There we go. Okay, that's nice. So yeah, what we need to do then is just, instead of looking out for this key code, I'm just gonna take this piece of code, I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna say workspace dot computer. Actually, I guess I do have to do wait for child. workspace, damn it, wait for child, computer, wait for child, HSC monitor. Like here's the thing, all of this probably isn't necessary, but I really like using wait for child because it just 100% ensures that there's not going to be like any errors because something hasn't loaded in on time. But it does great for a very messy code. So if you're following along with the video, you don't have to use wait for child. It's just my thing. But if you want to, go ahead. And then I think it's enabled. Or no, wait, triggered. Yeah, triggered. There we go. Triggered, connect, function. There we go. It's gonna give us the player who triggered. Which actually, yeah, okay, well, yeah, let's get the player and then let's move the code over here. And then I'm just gonna quickly say, if the player who actually triggered is not equal to like us, so if the player who clicked isn't us, then we're just gonna return N, which means that we're just not gonna do anything. And so, okay, let's just test this out real quick. If I press E, nothing happens. If I press E right now, yep, look at that, look at that. And if I press E again, wait, I can't move. Damn it. Okay, you know what? Fine. Let's stick with just pressing E for now. But look, okay, we've proved that the concept actually works. Let me just delete the proximity prompt as well. The last thing that I want to do then is I want to actually change the camera. So when we take control over our character, you know, I want the camera to go back to, you know, our character again. But when it goes here, where I want the camera to go to is I want the camera to revolve around the computer. And I want it to be like somewhere around here, looking at the computer. So what we could do is, I'll just make a variable for the screen at this point. Workspace, wait for child, screen, okay, there we go. I'm gonna set the camera subject equal to the screen. And then what I'll do is I'll use another run service thing. So game run service, render step, connect function, like so. And whenever switched rigs is true, so if, I'll just say if switched rigs, then, and what we're going to do is we're going to say workspace.currentCamera.cFrame is going to be equal to, and so again, I want it to be positioned, let's see, apparently this is four negative Z studs. So I'll just say cFrame.new, we're going to give it a position, right? So vector3.new. The vector3 first needs an X, so I'll just say screen.size, or sorry, screen.position.X. Then it's going to be screen.position.Y, and then screen.position.Z -4. And then it's going to look at, I guess, also the screen.position. And okay, let's just test this out real quick. Yes! Yes! Okay, wait, hold on. Let's do 3, let's do 3. Like, I want it to be very close. Yep. Beautiful. Look at that. Yes! I suppose small issues that we are able to do this. But like damn, bro, like, that is so cool. And we can still see it as well. That's what I like about it. Look, I can move it over here, right? We can still see it. Or like if I move it to the very bottom, look at that. We can still see it. Holy, this is so cool. I mean, okay, to be fair, this is kind of low quality, right? But you know, that's just a limitation with viewport frames. It just kind of does that. But this is so cool. Damn. Like, I came into the video kind of expecting to do this, but like, I don't know. I really like the way that this works. I don't know why. This is just really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna publish this game in the pinned comment. I'll have a link there. Check it out. Go play the game. I'm probably gonna restrict the servers to be 1 player only because I'm not too sure how this stuff is gonna work on multiplayer. But yeah, I mean, you know, players, go have fun. Developers, I'm gonna make the game uncopy locked, so you can go and actually copy like the place, and you can like make modifications to it if you want. But honestly, yeah, I really like the way this looks. This has a lot of cool potential. I like that I can actually see my character in here. And this is actually the first time I've ever done anything too big when it comes to cameras. Like, I've done viewport frame stuff before. In fact, my top 3 videos as of today, 2 of them are on viewport frames, right? So viewport frames are like a pretty big thing for me. But I've never done much like camera related stuff, you know? But this, it's very simple, but it's also very cool. I really like this. So, you know, leave a comment, tell me what you think about this. Tell me actually what I want to hear, and I will try to like every comment that actually says like how this could be used in a gameplay setting. Because like I said before, like even the idea of like switching between characters is really fun to me, right? So like, think of a game, think of a cool concept where like this feature could actually be used properly. And so yeah, you know, join the Discord server, share your thoughts with the best Roblox community to ever exist. Check out the pictures of my pet pigeons, again, Instagram is in the description and the pinned comment. And if you're inspired and bewildered and your life has changed by the way I code, again, I do have a course, link is in the description and the pinned comment. Again, I said this before, but every review is amazing. There's one bad review in Spanish, but again, I don't read Spanish, so that's basically no bad reviews. So go check out the free preview, and if you like it, consider buying the course. But yeah, bro, I mean, I've had a lot of fun doing this, I'll be honest. Not to say that I usually don't have fun making videos, but this one was cool because it just felt more innovative than usual, right? I'm sure people have done this before, but this does open up a lot of really cool possibilities, I feel like, and it is something fun that you can hopefully get inspiration from and play around with. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna make a few patches to this and then release it as a final game that you can play and also develop upon. And as always, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.